You're okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar on insights on how apparel and footwear suppliers use the PEFCR. During the webinar, we will provide you with information on PEF and an exchange with the manufacturing companies and partners on their experiences when testing the PEF category rules. So just for you to know, we have a couple, I'm going through some housekeeping rules. So your microphone will be muted for all of you, all the participants. The camera will also be off. You're not going to be able to enable it. And we also want to let you know that the meeting will be recorded. Once you accept to participate in the meeting, you also accept the condition to be recorded. This is done because recording and slides will be shared with you all after the meeting. So because we have too many participants, we decided there will be no Q&A session, and we also disabled the chat function, but there will be the possibility to directly interact during the last session of the webinar. You are encouraged to actively participate in the session. We already shared with you the link to connect the interactive session. It's called Whiteboard. So if you haven't done it yet, please now at the beginning of the meeting, connect to the whiteboard. You don't have to wait until Stéphane, who's the moderator of this last session, will guide you through it and will explain you how to use it. So keep it open, and we will get back to that at the end of, towards the end of the meeting. So that's our slight remarks on how to participate in the webinar and make the most out of it. I'm gonna leave the floor to our first speaker, who's Alicia Boyano Larriba, Policy Officer at the European Commission. She's under DG Environment and the Unit Circular Economy, Sustainable Production and Consumption. Our presentation will focus on the state of play of the PEF category rules, the way forward, and the link to the newly proposed green claims legislation. So Alicia, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. As they have said, I am Alicia Boyano. I am working in DG Environment, and I am following the PEFCR for apparel and footwear. Next slide. So I don't want to go into detail of what is the PEFCR, because I think that you are familiar with this term and that you know already what are the methods and what is the PEFCR. But I would like to stress some characteristics of the PEFCR for apparel and footwear in general that makes these methodologies different from other methodologies. So a PEFCR is a methodology that complements the EF methods that set the general rule and that are the ones recommended by the Commission according to a recommendation that was released in 2020, and they allowed to account for the environmental impacts of garments and footwear according to 16 environmental impact categories. These PEFCR are developed mainly by the industry, but in collaboration with the Commission. It's a multi-stakeholder process with a lot of steps that we saw later on. The feedback from stakeholders is very important and is considered by the Technical Secretariat, that is like the steering committee developing these category rules. PEFCR, sorry that I didn't say, means product environmental footprint category rules. And they are very specific for product, and they allow reliable product comparisons, either against a benchmark, that is a representative product that can be, or is the average product in the European market, or among two products developed by different companies. These rules relate the activities that are under control of the producers. And that means that, for example, as a primary data, data that should be collected in the facilities, for example, where the product are manufactured. This primary data, together with secondary data, will be combined under these specific rules to the environmental impact of this product. And this PEFCR covers upstream and downstream activities, so that meaning from the extraction of the resources until the end of life of the product. And as I have said before, one of the main or strong points of a PEFCR is that they include benchmarks, so that companies can always compare against this benchmark and know if they are performing better or worse than the average platform in Europe, environmentally speaking. Next slide, please. So here I want to highlight the benefits of the PEFCR for apparel and footwear. One of the main benefits from my point of view is that they save a lot of effort and cost to the companies that they want to perform a PEF study on a specific product, because there are many methodological choices that are already done, and because, for example, the secondary data are free of use and are already selected. And the other strong points from my point of view is that they allow comparison, as I said already. They identify what are the significant environmental impacts. So even before starting a PEF study, a company can more or less know what are the hotspots of a product covered by a PEFCR. And this is a tool that can be used in policy and also in procurement. Next one. The PEFCR for apparel and footwear, there are 13 representative products. And here is the full list. This list of products that are, let's say, the scope of the PEFCR has been identified based on market shares in Europe. Next slide, please. Here is the 21, if I recall correctly, 21 steps that the Technical Secretariat or the PEFCR has to undergo. Right now, the PEFCR for apparel and footwear are between the step 10 and 13. The next one will be a public consultation that is to take place after the summer this year. I already invite all the attendees to this conference to check the material that will be allowed and to provide feedback that we will offer to do that, that we will open to do that. And after this second consultation, the documents will also be reviewed by a panel of experts, and these experts will check the second draft of the PEFCR as well as the supplementary material, and a final draft with documents provided will be created by the Technical Secretariat, and this draft will be submitted to the scrutiny of two expert groups of the Commission, one is the Technical Advisory Board on Environmental Footprint, and another one is the expert group on Circular Economy, and then the Commission will issue the approval of the final PEFCR, and the PEFCR will be available on our website. Next one. And here are the key points of the studies that has been already performed. So for me, the PEFCR is a good balance between the primary data, that are the data that should be collected in the companies, and secondary data, that means data that are coming from the literature. So yeah, so it's not only secondary data what is going to be used to assess the environmental impact of the product, but there is a need from primary data that is defined in this PEFCR. This PEFCR also defines the modeling, the system boundaries, and especially the functional unit. For example, there will be rules to estimate the durability of the products. We have already some idea of what can be the hottest spots of the garments and footwear. And for example, among other environmental impact categories are the climate change, particulate matter, and resource fossil fuels, as well as acidification. These ones seems to appear in all the representative products. The Technical Secretariat has already identified that there is a need to account for the impacts related to the plastics, and those companies that want to communicate on the outcomes of a PEF study performed in accordance to a PEFCR, to this PEFCR and footwear, we have to verify the study. Yeah. Now I want to briefly introduce the Green Claims Directive. This directive was adopted by the Commission last week on the 22nd of March. Now is under the co-legislation process. The proposal submitted by the next slide, please. Yeah, the proposal submitted by the Commission was needed because it was seen that there are many labels operating on the European market that cause confusion in the consumers. So for
Alicia?
consumers, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. The microphones are not, they're making a lot of noise. So sometimes you're cut through. Sorry.
Oh, no. So here I want to introduce the Claims Directive. This directive was proposed because the greenwashing is mainly is the confusion in the consumers. Than 200 labels operating in the EU market, and for the consumers is difficult to distinguish the information that they are providing, as well as to trust in this kind of labels. And also that there were a need for rules on the green or to fight the greenwashing in order to boost the competitiveness among the companies, as well as to provide next slide.
Sorry to interrupt again. It's really bad. It would be possible to take it out for you? No. Okay. Then just like leave it as before. Maybe it's better. Sorry. It's
No, it's fine. So the scope of the proposal is mainly twofold. The first one is to tackle unclear and purely substantiated environmental claims from companies, and the second one is to increase the transparency and credibility of sustainability labels. And to do that, it includes rules for the substantiation and the communication of environmental claims, as well as for setting the environmental labeling schemes. We have to keep in mind that is a voluntary legislation. So if a company doesn't want to make a claim, they don't have to follow any rule. But if they want to do it, they have to follow the rules suggested here. And it only covers the business to consumer environment. So there will be also rules for third-party labels. Next slide, please. So in substantiation, what is proposed is that every claim comes along with a study or a collection of information that should be scientifically valid and relevant at international level, and that demonstrates that the claims covered are the most important ones for this product. So identify what is matter for the product. And it's not needed to cover the full life cycle assessment, but it's true that is needed to identify what can be the environmental impacts that can be caused by this product along the full life cycle, of the plant. And then there are specific rules related to the climate change impact category. And also specific rules if a company wants to do comparative claims. In general, these rules are set for the cases because of mainly because of the cost that this can cause to these kind of companies. Next one. There are also rules for the communication. These rules are set on those already provided by the Unfair Commercial Practice Directive and the proposal for the consumers for the green transition, and mainly the substantiation of the requirement and an increase in the transparency. And the next one. So this is in the case of environmental labeling. This proposal does not allow schemes into the market, and does not allow to introduce new private schemes into the EU market unless they can demonstrate that they have an added value with respect to the ones that are operating. So, this proposal bans the use of an aggregated score in the labels, and any third-party country or private scheme has to be approved by the Commission before operating in Europe. And next one. Next one. Finally, this proposal introduces an ex-ante verification. That means that independent and accredited verifiers have to check what is the environmental label, the environmental claim, and to find that it fulfills all the rules, and issue a certificate of conformity. So as I said, micro enterprises are exempt from these requirements, and the Commission will provide support to the small and medium enterprises, for which the cost of complying with this directive can be relatively high for the turnovers. And this support to the small and medium enterprises will be in terms of support, but also technical assistance. Next one. Yeah, here I want to do a link between this directive and the PEFCR. As most of you most likely know, the PEFCR is, as such, is not included in the text of this directive, but there are several recitals that make the links between the PEF method or PEFCR in this case and the directive. For example, it is recognized that the environmental footprint methods are methods that can provide substantiation to the environmental claims, as long as the impacts covered or the impacts caused by this product are covered by the methods. If this is not the case, these EF methods will have to be complemented by other methods in order to cover all the impacts of the products. And next slide. And here, specifically for the PEFCR, we say that there is a recital that said that if the PEFCR is implemented by other methods, for example, in the case of textile, that will cover the microplastic release that can be suitable for substantiating the environmental claims made on the garments and the footwear, and that the Commission can adopt the PEFCR in future delegated acts. And next one, I think is all from my side. Well, here I have a couple of slides where you can find more information, because I know that these slides are very, very dense. So we are going to release e-learning tools, but we have also help desk and a functional email box, as well my private email. You can write to me if you have any question. And the next one, we have been providing, the next slide, we have been providing training, the PEFCR for apparel and footwear as well, that you will find here in among these links. And now I think that is all my side. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alicia. That was really informative, really packed. For the participant, just to remind to those of you who connected a little bit before, don't worry, we will share the presentations after the webinar, so you can take a look at the details also for contacting Alicia, the unit, and for the web pages. So now I'll pass to our second speakers. She's Ekaterina Stoyanova, Policy Officer for Sustainable Businesses here at EURATEX. She will give you some insights on a survey on suppliers testing the PEFCR. So Ekaterina, the floor is yours. Good to hear.
Thank you, Georgia, for the
Ekaterina,
You're on mute.
we don't hear you. You're on mute.
Thank you, Georgia, for the introduction, and good afternoon to all participants in the webinar. As Georgia already pointed out, I'm going to walk you through key takeaways from a special survey that we launched within the Technical Secretariat for the PEF on suppliers' experiences with testing the methodology. Our survey was prepared and launched by the Working Group on Supplier Engagement, within which main deliverables are to ensure that manufacturers have voice in the development of the PEFCR, also to identify what type of capacity building is needed, as well as best ways to inform suppliers of the PEFCR. The survey was running between middle February and middle March this year, and we targeted specifically suppliers that were already engaged in the PEF supporting studies, the primary aim of which is to test the implementability of the first draft of the category rules. Our survey aimed to collect feedback on experiences with applying the PEFCR in order to feed these experiences into the future PEFCR revision, as well as to help us better understand how to build capacity to use the PEFCR. The questions that we asked concerned, among other things, the data collection process, stakeholder engagement along the value chain, incentives, and potential opportunities. The next few slides that I'm going to show to you outline the main takeaways from the feedback that we received from the survey. We collected quite some quality input, which will be extremely useful for our work within the Working Group on Supplier Engagement going forward, and of the Technical Secretariat as a whole. When it comes to bottlenecks, our respondents indicated that traceability is a key issue. They indicate that there are too many parties along the value chain, and communication and information exchange become challenging. It is difficult to reach parties that are positioned in the production and transformation of raw materials into fibers, hides, or skins. There is a lack of primary data, which eventually reflects in the quality of the results. There are issues, especially with access to data concerning energy, water consumption, as well as emissions per process. There is a need to standardize and simplify the data collection process, need to educate staff on how to collect and process the data. We also need to find ways to ensure the confidentiality of the data that is provided along the value chain, as well as we also received feedback on concerns regarding high costs of quality tests and constraints that relate to time and capacity. However, on a more positive side, the survey shows that regardless of the challenges outlined on this slide, companies are still willing to try and provide more data in the future. We also asked suppliers what are the main needs for data collection, and here they pointed the need for developing specific tools for suppliers, support for training and education, as well as referring now to one of the main bottlenecks, the need for standardization and simplification of the data collection process. When it comes to incentives to help data collection, our respondents pointed to the need for a secure long-term partnerships along the value chain, access to monitoring tools, as well as to results and feedback from clients, as well as the need to respect data confidentiality. We also asked how can PEF be of more interest for the companies. And here the feedback revolved around the need to ensure trust in the process by improving data collection and data quality, to ensure effective communication towards raising consumer awareness, and of course, last but not least, a level playing field, here referring to a harmonized implementation of the PEF across the EU, applicable also to non-EU products. In terms of opportunities, our respondents pointed to the need to enable measurement of environmental performance across the life cycle of products and services, improvement of internal traceability and process optimization, improvement of transparency and credibility, as well as boosting competitiveness and reputation. So these are opportunities that suppliers see stemming out from the PEF methodology. When it comes to expectations, companies expect that data collection and quality will be enhanced, that knowledge has to be improved, as well as communication and involvement of different parties in the value chain, and the relationship of trust and support between the partners involved. These are the key takeaways from the survey that we conducted. I also included in an annex slide a few more charts for you to revisit. Please do so. We will share the slides after the event, so you can have a look. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ekaterina. So that was short, brief, but to the point. I think there will be time after to also discuss it during the last interactive session. So now we can hear from Luca Bruschi. He's head of sustainability at Gruppo Reda. He will tell us about his experience regarding the testing of the PEF methodology, including how PEFCR could be of interest for companies and most probably some of you. So Luca, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giorgia. Next slide, please. I'm Luca. I'm the sustainability manager of Reda Group. Reda is a textile company specialized in the production of worsted fabrics in wool, and it was founded more than 150 years ago in the north of Italy. Today we are a group with 3 main divisions, 3 farms in New Zealand, 2 woolen mill in Italy, and also we have a B2C division with 3 main brands, Revolution, Lanieri, and Telur. As you can see in the slide, we have a revenue around 100 million euro, and we employ more than 500 people. Our, let me say, three key pillars for our development are environmental responsibility, of course, and sustainability, innovation, and quality. Next slide, please. During the course of the year, we measured ourselves according to various schemes, because we believe that if we want to improve our performance, it's first of all necessary to understand where we are and in a specific concept, and also try to understand what we could do in order to improve ourselves. Next slide, please. Also, in this regard, being certified EMAS since 2004, during the course of the year, we have collected and monitored several different KPIs and data in general regarding both the environmental sides and also social. But talking about the environment, for example, water and energy consumption, waste production, percentage of wastewater purified, recycled, and so on. And these data are also now included in our sustainability report. Next slide, please. And so we are a fabric producer, so we don't produce a finished product, but a semi-finished product. We have started from this data, and we have reprocessed them according to some specific ISO standard, and we carry out a cradle-to-gate LCA study validated with an APD some years ago. Cradle-to-gate means that we have started from the farm, arriving to the finished product for us, so the fabric. And last year, we participated also in a working group of Sistema Moda Italia, aimed at developing the product category rules for the wool sector, necessary for the PEF calculation, which is let me say, the recognized methodology for obtaining the Made Green in Italy certification. Next slide, please. And here you have some basic information regarding this standard, and the PEF is the correct methodology in order to understand and to calculate the different impact. Next slide, please. Okay, so our experience with PEF. So basically, although we have a lot of data available because we collected along the years, we have to spend a lot of time to extrapolate all this required information according to this methodology, because for collecting certain kind of data, it was necessary to involve some of our main subcontractors in the calculation. Also, some data and some conversion factors were not so clear, let me say. Luckily, we had the technical support of an external consultant with periodic alignment meetings to better understand the requirements of the PEF methodology. And also we have used a lot of different Excel spreadsheets, because nowadays we think that there are no tools capable of carrying out this kind of collecting and analysis activities in a structured and simple way. So it was not so easy. Next slide, please. And so our future expectation, what we hope for the future, if the PEF actually becomes the official tool chosen by the EU to address several issues like the green claim, is that PEF will be used as a benchmarking tool, of course. We hope also that some tools will be developed that allow to easier data collection, but also the processing, especially that help to carry out this type of calculation in a structured, but at the same time easy way year after year, because it's necessary to understand if you are improving your performance. Also, we wish that ad hoc training session will be held with a company like us, for example, in order to help us to better understand this tool and its operating logic that are not so easy to understand always. And last but not least, we hope that more parameters will be added to the current ones in order to make the PEF more, let me say, complete and consistent. Indeed, we think that some indicators are currently missing from the current list. For example, the circularity, the biodegradability, and of course, the release of microplastic. I hope that our contribution may have been useful, and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Luca. We speed up to the next speaker, Marie Demaegdt. She is Textile and Sustainability Director at the Alliance for European Flax-Linen and Hemp. And she will provide a presentation on how the Alliance has been supporting their members in the collection of data for the testing of the PEFCR. The floor is yours, Marie.
Thanks. Hello. Happy to share the PEF use case for our flax linen industry. On the next slide, please, a word about the Alliance for European Flax-Linen and Hemp, formerly known as the European Confederation of Flax and Hemp, CLC. We are the agro-industrial organization that gathers all steps of growing and transformation for flax linen, as well as hemp in Europe. That's around 10,000 members. On the next, please. Our alliance represents 80% of world flax fiber production and the complete value chain. So we lead the sector's environmental trajectory, and we do align with the PEF, especially through producing PEF-compliant data, such as the European Flax Fiber dataset included in recently published EF 3.1 database in collaboration with the European Commission data providers. Also being a voting member of the TS and conducting supporting studies on linen products with brands. And today's topic, supporting our members to use the PEF and to provide PEF-compliant data for fashion brands. Next, please. So to meet client needs, suppliers have three possible levels of response. First is compulsory. That's to identify each processing step in their supply chains and to select appropriate process in European database 3.1 if already existing. That means that the brand can use the generic datasets representing industry averages or secondary data, as Alicia explained. The second option, well, that's optional. Evidently, that's to complement these average datasets with a few company-specific key data, such as energy consumption and source. That's an intermediate level of precision. And the third option, the best-in-class option, that's to provide data fully representative of your company. And the benefits is that it enhances your sustainable initiatives on a supplier and client perspective. That shows where you perform better than the average. And that also enables to track progress over time, while also managing the use and the confidentiality of the mill's industrial data. And I think that having more of this primary data is the objective for all, as was also raised by the questionnaire. And the beauty of it is that you can start simple and then progress on your learning curve in order to have more of this primary data. Our alliance currently works on both the collective average and the individual data with dozens of members and on the long term. And as at Reda, we do have many, many hundreds of Excel sheets as well. So that's not easy, but that's manageable. whatever the option, collective approach is always the best answer. And I will illustrate with examples on the next slide, please. So examples of the collective tools and support in the flax linen value chain. Our first deliverable was the mapping of the processes. Really helpful to bring clarity for brands at the end of the supply chain. To give you an idea, we have 8 processes between the field and the spinning for our fibers. And that provides a common language for industry, for brands, for LCA experts. Without a common name, for instance, searching for your process in a database drop menu can be very tricky. Then on the next and last slide, regarding the data themselves, again, co-construction is key. Today, we have developed tools such as flowcharts with inputs, outputs, processes, and so on, and data collection templates. We have provided support through our consultants' advice, Q&A sessions, FAQ documents, all really helpful. The questionnaire also highlighted this need for standardized and simplified tools for data collection. So we can just chime in, this is really important. Looking at it as pre-competitive intelligence, this really saves each company the effort, the time, and the money. Also, having a collective data verification ensures that the mills have their say. They are really part of constructing the data, and that ensures best data representativity, consistency, and reliability. So now our next challenge will be to test digital tools and to make PEF calculation part of everyday normal business, to be able to not only measure the impacts, but also keep track of improvements, continuous improvements. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marie. That was an insight from you. So we leave the floor to Stéphane Popescu, consultant in sustainable fashion at the Alliance for European Flax-Linen Hemp. He will give you some background information on the scope of this exercise, and he will explain you how to use the platform, which at the beginning asked you to already connect. So Stéphane, the floor is yours, and we also can share. You can share the screen.
Yep. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be the last part of this webinar, which will be an interactive part with you. As you understand, we want to emphasize the supplier voice into this environmental footprint journey that we are on. So I hope you see my screen. This is for the link to go into the interactivity sessions, which is a whiteboard, more or less, but the digital whiteboard. So I hope you're already in. We have 35 people more or less connected. So you are more or less 70 around people connected. So you can join in either with your phone, either with directly your computer. Following this link, you go to app.cracksoon.com and you will put this number. So again, please note it down because I will go directly into the session now. So please write it down next to you in order, if you didn't join yet, in order to join without me going in. Otherwise, I will try to show it again a little bit later for the people a little bit late on it. So once you're in, you should access this more or less. This is again the whiteboard. When you use some post-it, I will just explain how it works and then explain what will be the exercise we would like to have with you. First, how does it work? It's like a real whiteboard, just digital. So you have this plus button at the middle of the screen, and you just have to use it to make a post-it. But before going to the post-it, I will just ask you about how you visualize yourself where you are in this gigantic whiteboard, because you can zoom in, zoom out, more or less. You can use the zoom button here, which will be easier for you to see where you are. And you can see this blue screen is reflecting where you are in the screen. So you are seeing my screen. I will show it for everyone. So this is showing where you are and so on. The exercise is quite simple. So first, make sure that you're on the right spot of the board. Then it's quite easy. You just press the plus, click the plus button. Then you have a post-it coming in. You can write your ID easily, and then you can post it. The ID will always be dropped at the center of your computer, of your screen, and then you can just drag and drop more or less where you want to put it, okay? So just first things, settle yourself where you want into the board, then zoom a little bit more like you want, then put, someone was already playing with, put your post-it, write down your ID, post-it, and so on, and that will be coming in. This is for how works the tool, okay? Now, what is the interactive session? As you see, we create this working group that is called Supplier Engagement at the TS of the PEFCR Apparel and Footwear. Our mission is to onboard you as much as possible into this PEFCR journey to make, like everyone told, the environmental footprint calculation an easy way. For this, we need your feedback, we need your voice. So we designed this first webinar to give you some feedback and also take feedback from you with simple questions. What would help you, suppliers, to be more engaged into the environmental footprint measurement and trajectory? So we settle 4 big ideas, more or less: training awareness, tool, incentive, and barriers. Training and awareness is all the idea regarding what do you need as a training and awareness in details. What kind of training do you need? Luca was speaking about this earlier and so on, Marie also as well. So put your ideas on this. Do you need tools? What kind of tool do you need? We spoke about Excel sheet, but maybe you need some other kind of tools or specific things. And what kind of incentive do you need? That's a very important question. And also, what are the barriers you are seeing now? We already discussed a little bit of this during the presentation, but we need more feedback from you. So now will be your time for you to drop your ID, like I showed to you. Don't be shy. You don't need to say woo more or less, but just drop your IDs in the right boxes, more or less. We'll give you, thanks to the time, more or less 5 to 10 minutes maximum, even less than this. Let's say 5 minutes for start to see how it goes. And then at the end of the session, we will do a vote. So I'll let you drop down your IDs for these 4 topics, more or less. And I see it's coming, so do not hesitate to drop and put it in the right boxes again. So now we start to play. And we are the first player, so that's good. So do not hesitate. That's coming in, 2 IDs already, so do not hesitate. 3 IDs. That will be popping in quite quickly. Perfect. I see a lot of people are looking to it. So you have all your computers. For the one that didn't went accessed into it or don't know how to come, I will re-show again on my screen the link to come in. So again, for the one not inside the whiteboard, either you go directly on your computer to Klaxoon, app.klaxoon.com. They will ask you for this code and then how to register, and then you will access to the board. Or if you do it with your phone, that goes quite easy, just flash and go. I will let it show for a moment, while all the other ones you can still play. So we are more or less 53 in the board and 62 in the webinar. So again, a few people that can jump in, sorry. And perfect, we can see some IDs coming in, great. That's perfect. And that's popping more and more, so it's it's working, perfect. I see nothing into the training and awareness area, so do not hesitate to fill in as well. can see many barriers. That's normal coming in. So do not hesitate to drop your IDs and also look at the other IDs in. In matter of time, I'll have to put a timer more or less. I'll give you 6 more minutes for dropping your IDs. We will be a little bit late for this webinar. Sorry for this. And nevertheless, I will let the whiteboard open. So after the webinar, you can still play with it until the end of this week. And then after, we will finish it more or less. So if you don't have time today, during this webinar session, to give all your input, do not hesitate to bring it afterwards offline, no worries. But we already have quite a lot of some IDs, not one by person, but still going in. All these IDs will help us after for the next step. Because this is the first webinar we are doing. We will do other sessions. We'll see how it looks like. But it's very important for us to hear your voice, hear what you need in order for us to supply it and to make sure that the PEFCR, as well as DG Environment and all the EC are aligned on what we can provide in order to engage the best we can, the fast we can, our industry into the journey. So that's perfect. I can see a lot of popping in. 4 minutes and a half to go. And then we'll go to the voting phase. Again, also all the barriers that you are dropping off, the idea of barriers are very interesting. We'll have more deeper look on this in order to also help regarding the training and awareness you can give on this. By the way, I will also, while I have also my screen sharing, I will also take the opportunity to show you more or less that we have a dedicated website. I do some advertising more or less, but there is a dedicated website for everyone to go in order to make you understand what is the PEFCR. So also that's one of the tools that we provided in order to give more information. So I will put it on the whiteboard for you want to go, but do not hesitate. A lot of information that can already reply to some of your questions you may have afterwards. I will just make it here up for everyone to take a look at it afterwards. So many IDs, perfect. Two minutes and a half for dropping your last IDs during this session. But remember, you have again until tomorrow end of day to drop more IDs, and after I will close the klaxon. But for the time being, yeah, do not hesitate, and you can already start to have a look at it more or less. But yeah, do not hesitate to drop, and I will give you, yeah, we'll give you 3 minutes for voting, and we'll be on time, Georgia. Try to keep to stick at the time that we propose to everyone. Lot of barriers, perfect. If you could give us a little bit of feedback on training and awareness, that could be interesting also. I guess that would be the first things to go from our side. So almost 1 more minute and we go for the vote. So far, you are doing great. Okay. Half a minute to go. So if you have no more ideas for the one that are already done all your ideas, do not hesitate to start to read more or less the idea you could find. And we'll go on next topic, on next workload. Okay. We are coming. Done. Nice. Okay, let's start with voting. So here we have a lot of ideas, and thank you. And again, you can add later on if you wish to have more ideas. Now, what we need from your side is a prioritization. So I will give you a few minutes to vote. How do we work it out? This is what we call a dot voting. I will give to all of you 10 dots to vote, like we used to play when we were young. You just have to put it on each. You have just to select the IDs you like and to add as many as you wish, as many as you have, more or less, dots, with the maximum of 10. So you can have 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, but you only have 10 dots to distribute to the best IDs you see in this area. This will give us a priority list and will help us after to prioritize our work based on your IDs. So I'll let you start to vote. Will take until will take 3 minutes to do. I'll just do 3 minutes things and that will do the job. So I'll let you vote. I can see people are starting to do. Perfect. So you have 10 dots. Do not hesitate because within 3 minutes I will stop the voting. So again, you just have to go into one ID like this one like you, and you just to press how much dots you want to put in it. Okay. I can see people voting. Perfect. Yeah, I can see it's working. That's great. Less than 2 minutes to go to finalize your vote. That is very interesting. And maybe, Kat, if you want to close down the meeting, or Georgia, I don't know you want to do it, but otherwise I will do it. If we don't have enough time.
No. I 5 minutes more max. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be done more or less. I think a lot of people did the voting and so on, so that's perfect. One more minute. I can see we have a priority list. That's perfect. 30 seconds to finish if you didn't finish your vote, and then I will close it. I think we are almost done. That's perfect. I will stop the countdown now. Okay, here we are. Thanks a lot for this interactive session. That was quite short, but I think we were very, very productive. And I want to thank you for doing the job with us. Georgia, over to you for the closing then. And thanks a lot and bonne journée.
Thank you so much, Stéphane. Just to maybe explain to the participants that maybe can be still online for some other minutes if they want to finish to vote or to other ideas. So don't hesitate to stay online on the platform. Unfortunately, we need to close it now. I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank also especially the speakers, all of them, for being with us and for giving their contribution. As I said, the recording of the event and the presentation will be sent at a later stage. So keep an eye open. We will send you the information. And Stéphane, we will share something also about the results of this exercise with participants. Yes. Okay, perfect. So you will also see the results of of this exercise. Thanks again, and I wish you all a nice afternoon and the rest of the week. Thank you very much, and goodbye.